I want to ask about some terminology that you introduce and then clarify it. So, on the one hand, I take it there's something called the landscape, which we've been discussing, which is of possibilities, and then there's something called the megaverse. And how do you?
Or people call it the multiverse. I had this aversion to the word multi, but never mind. I'm happy to call it the multiverse.
Okay. So the landscape is more of a mathematical sort of structure, something that's formal?
It's a mathematical structure, and it's the set of possibilities for the different kinds of environments that live. If you like, it's analogous to the rules of chemistry, which tell you what kind of materials can exist. They don't tell you what materials do exist. They tell you what kind of materials can exist, what kind of densities are possible for a submarine of a certain size. They are the landscape of possibilities. They tell you nothing at all about what does exist. They just tell you what the mathematics permits in the way of possibilities. That's called the landscape. Okay. On the other hand, there are the actual set of things which do exist. In the case of the submarines, it's the vastness of the ocean together with whatever mechanism created lots of submarines, just made a lot of them. And so it's two different kinds of large numbers. How many manifestations of these rules actually materialized, and how many possibilities are there for any one of them? Both of those, as far as we know, are very large numbers. One coming from cosmology, the fact that the universe may have exponentially expanded to be so large that it will just contain vastly large numbers of these submarines, and the mathematics of string theory, which says there's a vast large number of possibilities. So it's two different ideas: number of possibilities and number of actual materializations of things. You need both. If there was only 3 or 4 possibilities, and none of them happened to lie in this very narrow window, anthropic window, with 3 or 4 possibilities, all the submarines in the world would not be enough to create one which would survive the billion years. You need both a large number of them and a large number of possibilities that arise from chemistry. Well, here it's a large number of possibilities which arise from the mathematics of string theory, and it's a large number of materializations, which just means the universe is extremely big, much bigger than we ever had an idea of.
I'd like to move to the materializations in 1 second, but first, these, whether it's 10 to the 500 or 10 to the 2000, it doesn't...
You can't visualize it.
Yeah, but anyway. So these points in the landscape, they correspond to different vacuum states in string theory?
Different vacuum states.
Okay, terrific. And then as far as the materializations go, I'm hoping to talk to your colleague across the hall, Andre, because I know that he pioneered a lot of this along with Alan Guth and Alexander Vilenkin. But
Starobinsky. You cannot leave out Starobinsky. Andre will tell you you cannot leave out Starobinsky. Starobinsky was the originator of the idea. Not Alan Guth. Alan Guth picked up on it very effectively. Andre straightened him out and got it straight. Starobinsky was the founding, and the other person who comes into it was Sakharov. Well, Andrei Sakharov was the great dissident who was the Russian dissident who fought against Soviet autocracy, but was also a physicist that had many brilliant ideas. These ideas percolated up in Russia, not in the United States. And it wasn't until 1980, which was well into after Starobinsky, it was a bit earlier than that, and Sakharov, who had the ideas earlier. So That's something, and ask Andre about that.
Yeah, so I was going
And
to...
Mukhanov, another one. Mukhanov, who was the first to understand, I think, that the exponential expansion would lead to inhomogeneities that would eventually lead into galaxies. You know that story. That the exponential expansion, together with quantum fluctuations, are the things which lead to the inhomogeneities in space, which eventually evolved into clusters of galaxies, and even stars. That was Mukhanov.